All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. So here we are with the first Zoids game that I have done any kind of live stream or video on in a while, actually. I haven't done anything like this since we finished the live stream, or sorry, the Let's Play, actually, of Zoids Versus 1, the Japanese GameCube one. And here we are, finally, with a new one, the brand new, actually, Zoids Wild Blast Unleashed on the Switch. And this game is actually not brand new. It is a rerun of the Japanese version that came out about 2 years ago called Zoids Wild King of the Blast, which is a very silly name. But let's go ahead and get right into it. So I played the training missions last night, but I have not played any of the actual main campaign itself. Also, I do not know how this sounds. June just jumped in the chat. Let me see. Yeah, for some reason I was on the just the normal Switch menu, and it was showing the game audio as like blasting. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. So the first thing I did with this game is I went into the options and I turned down the voice volume to 0, which brings me back to the days of playing Zoids Battle Legends or Versus 2 on the English GameCube. That game had a dub that did not have the voice actors from the anime, and it was very cheesy and bad. This one does have the dub of the voice actors of the anime, but it is also cheesy and bad, and does not give us the option to play with the Japanese voices, which is a shame. So this game is very much a fighting game, much more similar to the Zoids Infinity series that was in Japanese arcades and had a PS2 version in the form of Zoids Infinity Fusers, which I have played in the past and definitely plan to play a lot more of, as well as Zoids Infinity EX on the Xbox 360, again, only in Japan. And then we haven't had one of those in a while, but it was sort of a 3D fighting game style that heavily used the analog sticks for like side-to-side dashes and stuff like that, which was pretty cool. Very similar to the Mobile Suit Gundam Federation vs. Zeon game, which is a fantastic game if you haven't played it. And so this game has some similarities to that, as well as some similarities to Zoids Full Metal Crash, the last fighting game on the GameCube. And I was a little disappointed that here we go again with the latest and greatest Zoids game is yet another fighting game, because the Versus trilogy at least allowed for different types of combat, and you had more than one opponent. You had big open battlefields with multiple enemies to fight at one time, whereas this is always and ever going to be one-on-one fights, which maybe is pretty fitting for the Zoids Wild setting, because it is a little bit more... I'm very suspicious of these audio levels. Something does not seem right about this. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit more. Okay. Anyway, so... with the Zoids Wild setting, we're not dealing with like military mechas with guns and stuff on them. We're dealing with these very primal, wild and primitive Zoids, as the name would suggest. And so it does kind of make a little more sense for the primary combat to be melee focused. This game does actually have some pretty nuanced controls and does allow for a lot of variety of strategies and the type of like quick dodges and counters and guard breaks and stuff like that. It's very much like your traditional fighting game. The only downside is that, of course, the actual offensive combos you can do are incredibly simple, which does make sense considering that this game is marketed towards kids, so it doesn't have the complexity of something like your Guilty Gear or Melty Blood or something like that, but it does at least allow for a high, what I feel like is a potentially pretty high skill ceiling. So I'm pretty excited about that. Now, I don't really... I might be terrible at this by fighting game standards, because I don't really play that many fighting games, but I'm sure the game is going to be easy to get through. It's very interesting how they decided to pick up this game for the English localization, because Again, this game is released in Japan just like any other anime tie-in game, but here in the States, it was published and released by a company called Outright Games, or is it Outrun Games? It's on the cover here. Yeah, Outright Games, and they primarily are just a publishing company that publishes kids games, and I would know that because I've seen essentially copies upon copies of some of their newer shovelware titles. So they remind me a lot of. There was another company that did that very similarly in like the PS2 era. I can't remember the name of it, but we're going to go ahead and jump in the story mode here. And one of the things I noticed last night, just kind of getting all this set up, is that this has a really broad story mode. So as you can see right here, there's a bunch of different story arcs, and then each fight goes up to like that's 12 fights there, 13 fights there. There's actually a lot more content in this game than I thought there was going to be. And I think mainly all that is if you think about your typical fighting game, there's got to be a playable tournament for each character. And so that seems to be what this is, and it looks like there's some branching paths, different factions, and that kind of thing. So that's what this appears to be. So it might not be, incredibly deep and nuanced like choices and that kind of thing, but at least it does have some content. And although I will ask, keep in mind this is a budget title. This was picked up and published and localized and it's available for only $40. It is intended to be a kids game, so that is a factor we have to keep in mind there. Another thing is I was playing this in handheld mode last night while working on editing a friend's panel for AWA. He recorded it here at my house, and I was just doing the editing for it. And I was listening to that, stopping whenever I needed to do an edit, and then playing this on handheld mode on the Switch. And I was honestly not very impressed with the visuals. The in-game Zoids models are very grainy, and their textures are not all that clear, which I was kind of disappointed by, considering the potential power that the Switch can put out. Although I don't know, what that's going to look like here in docked mode. I'm assuming that it's going to be a lot better. So, forgive me if I interchangeably use the English and Japanese names for some of these characters, because I obviously do not like the English localization of the Zoids Wild character names and the Zoids names. Most people seem to not like that too much, so it is what it is. But yeah, so our first battle, I managed to keep Arashi as the main character's name and not anglicize that too much. But our sort of not really rival character, but sort of mentor character is Quaid here, and I used heavy attacks there to break his guard. And once I did that, I was able to kind of stun him a little bit there. And I could honestly probably just get through most of this with just straight up button mashing. I did a counter there. Let me see what other abilities I have. So you can tap the B button to do like a little quick dash like that, which seems to be one of the best ways to avoid enemy attacks. There we go, and you can hold the I guess what would be R1 and then one of the face buttons to use one of those special attacks that have the gauge down there, and those are some of your best ways of dealing damage. It reminds me of a lot of the modern Muso games, unfortunately, where they all seem to have like, oh, God forbid you actually have to remember button inputs. Just hold a button and do your special combo. And I've ranted about that on so many different games in the past. But, oh, he blocked that, which is pretty good. Come on. There we go. But yeah, once we actually get into attacking, there's not really a whole lot of variety. Like, you can't even chain light and heavy attacks together, really, and there seems to be a little bit of a, not necessarily an input delay, but an intentional sluggishness behind the light attacks, which seems to be a common trend with Zoids games, unfortunately. They can't have them be super fluid. We have to have them be just a little bit clunky, which is unfortunate. So we aced that pretty well, as expected. So Quaid Zoid is the Fang Tiger, which for some reason they changed to Saber Fang in the English localization, because everything's got to have a Z in it, right? When you're dealing with Zoids. Not to mention, somebody actually mentioned that might have been due to a copyright thing with trying to make sure they secured the name Saber Fang for the Hasbro license in case they ever wanted to go back and re-release any old school Zoids. They could keep the name Saber Fang, because that ended up being an issue with some of Hasbro's other licenses, like Transformers, for instance, where you had characters that hadn't been seen since G1, and then you end up going to the movie era, 2007-ish, and some of those characters, they don't have the copyright to their name anymore, so they have to call them either something different or not put their name in quotes or whatever. An example was like Jazz, where on the Transformers merchandise they couldn't call it Jazz, they had to call him quote Autobot Jazz to kind of avoid that copyright loophole. I don't really understand how a lot of that works. But we're going to go against our actual rival character here, and the Gill Raptor, which has been just renamed to Ruin in the English version. I don't know what Drake's Japanese name is. I need to go look that up, because I'd probably prefer to refer to him. I kind of like him as a character. He's kind of spunky, which I like, but I got to play as the Gill Raptor a little bit in one of the training missions, because you had to experiment around with the Dark Blast move, which seems to be pretty good. I'm actually going to try to use my Wild Blast here if I can get the gauge up. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And of course, he's literally running circles around me, so let me just use my actual attack here. Nice. That's pretty cool. I love that he has to, like, explode for no reason after that, too. Like, of course, now he's using his Dark Blast, so we'll have to be careful of that. Now, the thing about the Dark Blast, apparently, is it drains your health when you use it. So you can use it right away at the beginning of the fight, unlike the Wild Blast where you have to charge it up. But it drains your health, so you got to use it strategically, which, honestly, I don't think that's that much of a problem, because it does grant a little bit of a different fighting style to each of the Gill Raptor and the Wild Liger, or any kind of, I guess you could say, good guy Zoids versus the bad guy ones. I'm not sure which other characters are going to have a Dark Blast move, but it's there. So whenever we have the ability to choose a different route, I'll be able to play as a different character here. We don't mind playing as the Wild Liger. It's just I played as the Wild Liger through all those training missions, and now I'm kind of a little bit burnt out on it. I don't know. The design of the rival is just really silly. It's really goofy and over the top, but I can't say that I dislike it, because it seems very fitting for the setting, and he very much reminds me of like other shonen anime rival type characters. So what's interesting, I was actually going to make another comparison as well. This game really does remind me a lot of like anime tie-in games from the early 2000s, and whether it be like, Digimon games, or maybe the Naruto Ultimate Ninja games or whatever. Oh, cool! We can branch our path down here now and actually play as Drake. I think I might actually do that. What will this take us to? Let's do one more right here, and then we may branch off and play as a different character. But that point kind of brings me to a larger point that I wanted to make, which is that I've mentioned this in other videos as well, is that I really feel like the reason that Zoids Wild will probably not do well here in the West is that I honestly just feel like it's kind of stuck in the past, and that there is not as much appeal with the Western audience of kids specifically as there was with the prior iterations. keep in mind the reason why Zoids stopped coming to the West was because Fusors was getting bad ratings, and I don't think it was necessarily bad sales on the toys because you couldn't find them anywhere. They were certainly selling, but the show was getting bad ratings, and Cartoon Network just canceled. I think it also had a really bad time slot as well, and there's lots of different factors. But when you consider that, plus the fact that this show is definitely geared towards kids, and just kids these days are just not having the same experiences that that we had as kids, where we liked little action figure toys like this, and we liked goofy over the top kids anime on TV, and it was more our thing. And now I think kids are just so much they're starting out with devices already, and they have they want to play their Fortnite and that kind of thing. And I just don't think that I think I made this point a little bit better in the other video that I talked about this in, when I talked about Zoids Wild coming to the West. But I watch the anime and I see how goofy and cheesy the dialogue is, and I see like everything else that they're doing with it, and I'm just like, oh, did I actually miss with my Wild Blast attack? That's kind of annoying. Oh, he also has a range attack, which is kind of cool. There we go. Get to use one of the other abilities there. Even after I knock down a character, I'm never really able to do much damage to them after that. So anyway, I feel like there may have been a slightly better chance for Zoids Wild Zero to do well in the US, and we'll see what happens if they do decide to localize that, because it might sit more in the realm of like a Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds or a Digimon Frontier, in terms of like it's a little bit more mature, a little bit more for like tweens and teens, and therefore has a little bit more appeal. And the designs are just cooler anyway. But I don't know. I don't feel like Zoids Wild is going to do well, and this game sort of lays all of that bare. All of the things that I think are going to hurt this brand are kind of laid bare with this game, and you can kind of see the cheesiness. I mean, I would love to actually see if there are any kids that, let me see, who do I play as up here? Analog. I don't know who that is. Let's do that one after we do one of the Drake missions. But you see what I mean, guys? Like I'm not one of those people that hates on Zoids Wild, otherwise I wouldn't be playing this. I mean, I know there was definitely some really salty people where it's like, hey, this isn't for me. I'm going to essentially boycott this and pretend like it doesn't exist, and just try to give people who actually do enjoy it a hard time. But my position on that is I'm going to take what I can get, and I want it to do well. I want there to be an audience for this in the US. I want kids to pick up on this and enjoy it, because evidently it's full steam ahead in Japan, where Zoids Wild, at the time of the recording of this video, Zoids Wild 0 just finished airing its final episode yesterday, and so they're already on course with the third series, Zoids Wild Senki, which is coming out here in a few weeks, I believe. And so, but there's always a possibility that Zoids Wild will do so poorly in the US that they won't even adapt those other series and the toy lines that go with them. But if they do, I feel like those will do better. But at the same time, I had this thought today. I was like, you know what? There's got to be something that Hasbro had to have a lot of confidence in this brand to be like, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to put all my chips in this, essentially. I'm going to. Oh wow! I actually missed the blast attack as well. But clearly they had to have decided, okay, we're going to invest the money in localizing the anime, manufacturing all the toys, picking up this video game. Like they really do believe in this brand, and I feel like either Hasbro is kind of themselves stuck in the past as a toy company and doesn't have the luxury to really expand their horizons as far as what kind of brands they can make, because like Transformers has kind of become one of those brands that they're sort of catering to their longtime fans and like adult collectors, because there's just not that many kids that are into it anymore, and I feel like Zoids kind of fits into the same category. But clearly Hasbro either was taking a big gamble, or they were really convinced that this was going to do well, because clearly they put a ton of money into this and they're really proud of it. So granted, picking up something that it couldn't have been that huge of an investment, because when you think about it, all they really had to do was reverse engineer, manufacture an already existing toy in Japan and dub an already existing anime and localize an already existing game. So that is one of the things that makes these sort of anime tie-in things a little bit easier, is that you can literally just pick up the already existing brand and localize it that way. So it could have been that much, but even so, I guarantee that was not cheap, and you would think that Hasbro would be burned out on that, because the previous iteration of Zoids did not do exceptionally well. Okay, that attack was going all over the place. I don't know what they thought they were doing there. Also, I really don't know why we're picking on these little raptors, because I wonder if we're not even on the same. Oh, okay, I see. We have to actually defeat like 10 of them, which makes sense. Another little niche thing about the combat as well is that apparently that you can get critical attacks if you attack somebody from behind, and you'll see a little notification pop up on the screen where they'll say behind us, and you can get stunned that way. Oh, what the heck happened there? Oh, he was already dead. I love his little shit-eating grin. I had a heck of a time trying to get this stream to actually work, because my current internet, let's see if I can shut that off. There we go. Took out like half my health there. My current internet apparently is not good enough to facilitate a live stream on YouTube very well. I was able to do the build fest for the Zoids Wild Kits I did a couple weeks ago, but that was using a different device, and I'm sure it could sort of negotiate the resolution a little bit differently amongst itself. But yeah, I wasn't even using the actual streaming software tied to the Starcrossed Souls Zoids YouTube channel. I wasn't even able to get a 480p stream to work, so I was like, well, the heck with that. I ended up updating the software, still didn't work, and then I tried Twitch, which I've been having problems with for months, and then it worked. So I was like, okay, well, we're doing this on Twitch now. The only problem is none of my YouTube subscribers are going to see that this is streaming, so they're, unless it's somebody who's in the Zoids Collectors group, which I have shared this there, then unfortunately they are going to see this after it's already uploaded, like the rerun of it. So, which I'll try to upload this rerun the same day so you guys get to enjoy it as well. But yeah, it is what it is. I will say the Gill Raptor so far has been really fun to play as. Like, he just seems super strong and very aggressive, and way more so than the Wild Liger, which is strange considering that being that he's just a raptor, you wouldn't think that the Gill Raptor holds that like dinosaur type Zoid rival spot, but it kind of does for this anime. Like, it's basically the wild equivalent of the Genosaur or the Berserk Fury, even though it's a smaller species of dinosaur. But I guess that kind of comes with the territory, because you're dealing with smaller Zoids in terms of scale with this series too, because the riders are sitting on the back of them and they're exposed, and the overall scale is much smaller, which is why the Zoids Wild model kits are 1/35th scale as opposed to 1/72 scale. So does make sense. Do we get to play as another character now? Malware. What are you? So let's branch off yet again. Let's go to Analog from Freedom Team. I thought that was not the character's name, and then I read the paragraph under it, and it says Analog is a member of Team Freedom. It's like, okay, I guess that is his name. Okay, so he's the really dorky looking kid, and his Zoid, the Ganon Toys, has been renamed to Tanks. Oh god, I hate the way he looks. Now, I actually do like the Zoid quite a bit, although I like the Zoids Wild Zero version quite a bit more. I've done the review on that one. That's the Bazoodle, the Bazootile, which really is much more like a tank. And it just looks a lot cooler, has a better color scheme and everything. So, but it's obviously building off of a good concept, which is this one right here, the Ganon Toys. Yeah, so I mentioned earlier the sort of haters, the Zoids Wild haters, and the issue of the pilots sitting on the back of the Zoids like that. And yes, that is dumb. I won't deny that. And there are lots of different ways in which that does not make sense. But, oh, that's so cool. I like that we can do that. So he appears to be, as you would expect, slow but strong. I don't know how a turtle's supposed to fight a dinosaur, but okay. It does help when he actually has a cannon in his shell, which I suppose would make him a lot stronger. So we can just do that right out of the gate. The only problem is when it gets knocked down, we don't have the luxury to hit him multiple times. Oh, that was nice. Yeah, so my thing about the writers being exposed is that's literally the only thing people have to say about Zoids Wild that's negative, aside from the obvious issues with the localization and the dub that are really bad. My friend Brad, who's a big Zoids collector with me, he said he actually stopped on Zoids Wild because there was a character that does nothing but all of their lines is rapping. All they do is rap. And he said, I couldn't. Like, even to have the series on as background noise, I had to stop. I was like, I can't take it anymore. And I said, wow, that's definitely a shame, but I see what you mean. I see where you're going with that. We're going to take a quick pause break really quick to just test out a few things. Okay, we're back. I just had to take a quick pause break to check on a few things. Yeah, so I was sort of talking about briefly there just the Zoids Wild haters, the denial there, which, again, if you don't like it, that's fine. You're not obligated to like it. The only thing is just don't ruin it for other people. Don't tell people not to have fun and that they're not allowed to enjoy things. Let's try out this character. I'm not sure what Zoid they're going to use. We're going to find out. But it seems like they took the criticism about the pilots so seriously that even though when it comes to the model kits for Zoids Wild Zero, where they had no choice but to still have the pilots exposed because they were reverse engineering the Zoids Wild kits, as far as the continuity of the anime goes, they did actually... Oh my god, look at this guy's face. What the hell? He looks like a badminton thing, like the little whatever they call that thing, and I guess he's going to be using the I think this thing is called the Gillabrator in the Japanese version. I have no idea what it's going to be called here. Probably something dumb, but it's okay. I complain about the name localizations, but it's called Overbite with a Y, Overbite. And his name is Malware. Oh god, it's a pun. Kill me. Yeah, again, I complain about the localization, the name changes, but They didn't really do that with the other series. All of the other Zoid series, it was a direct localization of the Japanese name, with the exception of the Berserk Fury, because I think by kids show standards, calling something the Berserk Fuhrer would be a little controversial. But I get it. Okay, I don't think he seems to be all that fast. Oh, that was actually pretty cool. Let's try this. I don't know what that did, but okay. Yeah, June says, fun is illegal in the Zoids metagaming community, sir. How dare you? I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much what I've realized, and it's so much so to where there was actually a post that went viral that originated in the Zoids collectors group. I apparently just launched out exploding balloons. I didn't expect a alligator to be able to do that, but okay. There was a post that went viral, which was someone's model kit holding up a little postcard that said, stop constantly shitting on things that don't appeal to you. Let people enjoy things, which is something that I think resonated so well with people in different communities where things they enjoy are gatekept, that post went viral, and it's really cool to see either non-Zoids fans or people of different communities sharing that post when you consider where it originated from. Okay, I don't think I want to play as the Gillibrator anymore. Numlock. Okay, I'll admit, some of these names are not that bad. They remind me, again, of Transformers names. I don't know who that would be. We're not going to play as them yet. I want to try a different character. Battalia from Team Freedom. Who knows what they will be using. Oh, it's the girl on the menu there. She seems like an okay character. I mean, you're dealing with like the female sidekick character in what is essentially a kids shonen anime. So how great can she really be? Especially with the English dialogue. But I didn't think she was that bad. And I mean, honestly, I guess I should get to kind of my honest opinion of the Zoids Wild anime, the English version at least, is that if you have it on kind of as background noise like I did when I watched it, it's not all that bad. It's definitely not something that you would watch with the full expectation of it being like deep, nuanced commentary and, you know, it being a really thought-provoking show. It's a dumb robot fighting show that is dumbed down further to appeal to kids, and so don't expect a whole lot. And so as background noise, it wasn't all that bad. Certainly not as good as some of the other Zoids series. Not my least favorite, but not my most favorite either. And so it is what it is. I mean, I talked about it quite a bit. You know, almost 2 years ago when the manga first came out in Japan and when the anime first came out in Japan. This is not a new series. It's people only are treating it like it's new because we just got the English Netflix version. And I think bringing it into the spotlight like that and having a lot of people kind of have visibility to it again is what caused a lot of the controversy to even be discussed, because I had mentioned how the Zoids community, the Zoids Builders group and everything, was one of the most chill and accepting communities I've been a part of, where it literally does not matter what you post about. If you're posting about any era of model kits, whether it's vintage from the 80s, whether it's from the 1999 anime line, Fusers, Genesis, if it's an HMM, if it's motorized, if you're talking about one of the video games, like, it literally does not matter. People will be super excited about your post, and that's always kind of been the way that it is. But with is the stream locked up? Oh no, there it goes. Okay, yeah, we're good. I saw the thumbnail in the background wasn't moving, and I got a little worried there. Anyway, so the group has always been just awesome. Like there's never been an issue with anything, and then all of a sudden we get the English localization of Zoids Wild, and everybody wants to talk about it like it's brand new, like they haven't had a perfectly good opportunity to watch it in Japanese for 2 years at that time. And so as a result, they start shitting on it, of course. The color seems a little bit odd in the Twitch version here. In the game and on my recording software, the color seems to be more accurate, but the Twitch version seems to be a little muted. I'm not sure what the reason is for that. Also, I really love the poison effects here on the Scorpion Zoid, which I'm not sure the Japanese name of. This thing looks like it might be a bit of a problem, though. I don't know about that. I want to get away from that. It's using its own Dark Blast move. I guess we'll use our move, which I haven't used before. Oh, cool. We get to team up with the little Spider Zoid, too. That didn't really do that much damage, though, but I guess the poison is helping with that a little bit, too. That poison sets in pretty fast. One of the things you can do in terms of gameplay, and the AI actually just did it right there, is very similar to in most like actual fighting games. If you were to do a special move at a certain time, you can break your opponent's combo with it. I demonstrated this in the video, the recent Fate video I did talking about Fatal Limit Codes, where if you do one of the Grail Burst things, you can break your opponent's combo. And so he used his Dark Blast there, and just by using the Dark Blast, by activating it, he was able to block my move where I was about to sting him from being buried under the ground. So at the very least, the AI is aware of its own mechanics. But yeah, so the other consequence of the Zoids Wild anime becoming localized is you had a lot of maybe vintage collectors or older fans of the original anime that were sort of laying dormant, not really celebrating their interest in the Zoids series, there's the Zoids franchise. And so then you had, let's see, there's another couple of characters we can play as here. I don't know who Bastion is, but we're going to find out. So you had a lot of people who all of a sudden realized, okay, yeah, Zoids is cool. Why did I ever give up on this? So they went back from a nostalgia perspective and started looking to buy older kits again. And then we had a bunch of those older kits sort of just disappear off the market. Prices shot up, so this sort of nostalgia-oriented interest, accompanied by the import issues and shipping issues with international stuff due to COVID and all that, has seen just Zoids across the board increase dramatically in price. And I don't like that, and in fact it's become one of those things where it's like a lot of the older kits that I was very much so celebrating how cheap and affordable they were last year and earlier this year have now all but disappeared off the market in general. I just did the review of the Witz Wolf / Witz Tiger thing, and I was saying how I feel like if I hadn't gotten that when I did, it would essentially just be gone forever. Like, I would never find one again, because it's not like we will see a bunch of these things come back on the market after disappearing. I think once they're gone, they're gone, essentially. And it is what it is. So a lot of the people in Japan that are sitting on very large collections, they know what their stuff is worth. And so the prices have just shot up exponentially. And you have some people who are sitting on old unbuilt kits, especially old HMMs. Old HMMs that are unbuilt are worth a crap ton of money. And so you have people that are sitting on this that are selling them for just ass loads of money. And there is, for instance, there's a huge Zoids community in Indonesia, very big in Indonesia. And I felt like a lot of people in the Zoids collectors group are from there. I'm going to continue along with the Wild Liger a little bit further, so you'll have people that are just sitting on just massive collections of unbuilt kits, and boy, was that a smart move on their part to wait, because holy crap. The value from these kits now, from all this, is just ridiculous. And of course, I have I'll just give you one example. The Psychogenosaur that I have, the one of course I had the issue with recently with the instruction manual in the bottom of the box getting water damage and whatnot from an unknown source. That kit I looked at it on the recent Market Watch and how expensive it is. But there's a guy in Indonesia that has one. He's selling it for, I actually converted the currency, and it's essentially $390, $400 he's selling it for. So that's a lot of money. But of course, there's other people selling it on eBay for like $500-$600. So, take what you can get, I guess. So right here, the Zoid that Bastion ended up using, I didn't even mention it because I was busy talking about other stuff when we played as him, but it's the Triceratogos, and I guess they renamed it Trike in the English version, which I think is kind of dumb. But wow, I missed with the actual Wild Blast again. There we go. Again, the Triceratogos looks cool, but the Zoids Wild Zero version is just so much cooler. Like, the armor just looks so much more fierce, and you just put guns on them, and they just look cooler. So the Styrazor, as it's called in Zoids Wild Zero, just looks way, way cooler. And the part in the center that's like that pile driver thing that pops out and attacks the enemy Zoid with the Trike here, or the Triceratogos, is essentially a 3-barreled gun type thing that pops out on the Styrazor. So I think that version just looks way, way cooler. Hey, Wesley has joined in. Wesley, we're going to have to find a time to play more Star Wars Squadrons together. I wanted to live stream this because it just came out on day one, and obviously my Zoids fan base out there is counting on me to stream it. But I still have my PlayStation Plus membership that I paid for the 1 month or whatever I paid, so we have plenty of time to play it. I noticed they released the first patch for Star Wars Squadrons, which addressed some balancing issues and some funny glitches that I didn't know about. It's always funny when you read the developers' notes on patches for a game, because they'll tell you what they patched and what they fixed, and it's stuff that you would never have even known about, but it's really funny when you hear about it. It's stuff like, to use the Star Wars game as an example, it was essentially there were random glitches where it would show the little cutscene at the beginning of the match, and that particular cutscene the Imperial ships would never even spawn in. They were never just gone. He says, as I said, I'm willing to shoot down some Rebel scum with you any day, and I am totally up for that. Although I need to get some shields for my TIE fighter, because holy crap. So our rival character here, Drake, just appears to be beating up on a lot of the little raptor guys, and I don't know why he seems to do that. Hopefully, I guess we're going to be fighting Analog here, and the I keep trying to remember the Japanese names and not use the English names. The Ganon toys, yeah. So I guess we're going to be fighting that now, which is fine. Hope you guys don't mind that I'm skipping a lot of the dialogue here. I really just don't think you guys are that invested in the story in this game. It's essentially a play-by-play of the anime, but with a lot of unique caveats, considering that much like a lot of fighting games, they have to invent some scenarios for characters to fight that didn't actually happen, only because they need to maximize the amount of potential matchups for the video game. So it makes perfect sense. But for all I know, these two could have actually fought in the anime. For all I know, that cannon really comes out when you don't expect it. Touche, good sir. I think the Go Raptor might be the most fun to play as so far by far. It's just so aggressive, and it really does feel like the sort of apex predator. Oh, I see how it is. Trying to beat me in my own game, are you? That didn't deal nearly as much damage as I thought it would. Of course, we ran out of time there on it. Nice, we got a good counter in there. I was running low on health. I actually wonder if it is... I know it's obviously best 2 out of 3 with these matches, but I wonder if we lose... no, it would have to be best 2 out of 3 even if we lose a life, because it seems like with... what do you call it? Whenever we win, we get a little star up there. So... This game is actually making me want to go back and play the single-player modes and some of the fighting games that I haven't really explored too much. I'm thinking of some of the some of the BlazBlue games that I haven't actually really played the story mode in too much. Wesley wants to know what on earth is up with Drake's hair, and that's the question I have been wanting to know the answer to as well, which I don't think the series itself even really knows. All I know is the character design in this series is all over the place. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's good. It's actually very silly, but there's nothing else that looks like it. It's almost like if you took the Mad Max Fury Road aesthetic and combined it with something like Hero Academia is what it makes me think of. So, picture a lot of these characters are picture Fist of the North Star if it was just goofy, over the top, and for kids. Is kind of what a lot of these characters remind me of. There's some really goofy character designs, but like I said, at least nothing else out there quite looks like it. We have about we have 12 chapters just for that one character alone. This might be driving you guys crazy that I'm jumping around from campaign to campaign so much like this, but to me it's one of the only ways to keep up the variety, because I doubt you guys would want to see the same character all the way to the end in one long stream, because that would get really repetitive. Let's go with... Let's see, we're almost at an hour, so maybe I'll do 2 more. Let's do another one with the Scorpion Girl. I like how her expression seems to change with the difficulty of the fight, maybe. I'm not sure if that's what she's referring to. But it's she has 3 different expressions based on which fight we cursor over. Oh. Anyone else feel a mix of creeped out but excited? That's like, I think that right there is the tagline for the game itself. So, if you wanted to sum up a review of this game in one sentence, that'd be, oh, we're not fighting the Wild Liger after all. I thought we're fighting the Ganon toys again. Maybe we'll have a different advantage against it playing as the Scorpion Zoid than with the Gill Raptor, but I kind of doubt it. Although you would think a turtle would be helpless against something that can burrow underground. So, he's like, I'm having second thoughts. Yeah, it seems to be pretty effective against it. I wonder if the Spider Zoid is even playable, or if it's just like it only appears in combination with the Scorpion Zoid here. Of course, I totally missed the actual special attack there, which is a shame, but that was actually pretty cool. I don't know if I did that on purpose or just accidentally, but it seems like we stayed burrowed underground until he was done with his attack, so we didn't get countered. Oh, we missed that. And he's going to go for his Wild Blast, which is... I don't know how I feel about that. We'll just have to use our own. There we go. Finally get to use that attack correctly. I find it a little bit annoying how when Zoids are knocked down, they don't really stay down for very long. But maybe that's a good thing, especially considering how annoying it is when you're like playing a fighting game and you're absolutely defenseless and you can't counter. Seems like this game really did compromise in-depth combos for really precise controls and the ability to really kind of counter and get out of your opponent's attacks really well, if that makes any sense how I'm describing that there. So overall, I think they did a pretty good job designing it. Wesley wants to know if I'll be getting the Prinny Duo Pack on the Switch. I hadn't planned on it. I'm kind of behind. I feel like I'm behind on the Disgaea games. I technically have 1 through 4, but then they re-released 1 through 4. They released 1 and 2 on the PSP, and then 3 and 4 on the Vita, and I don't have any of those versions. They also did like Disgaea 1 complete on like the PS4 and the Switch, and Disgaea 5 on the PS4 and the Switch. I'm like, oh god, I don't know where I'm going with this series, and no, I don't, unless the Prinny Duo Pack is like super cheap. I don't think I'll go for those. Right now, I'm just waiting on Trails 4 and Ys 9, which Ys 9 is not going to be until earlier next year, but Trails 4 I think comes out this month, if I'm not mistaken. You may have to correct me on that, but I'm pretty sure Trails 4 is this month. I had to double check that I actually ordered it. I think I told you the other day. I also was having this conversation in the Fire Emblem Discord. I was talking about the Atelier series and how they seem to make like one of those every single year, and so I never paid much attention to them because they're made by Gust and localized by Koei Tecmo, and there seems to be like a million of them. I always kind of assumed they were just kind of shovelware and not very good. But I talked to some people that have played them. I looked at all of the user reviews, and like most of them have like a unanimously positive rating, and I think that's just kind of a result of them just being very wholesome and innocent, and the audience that plays them is the right kind of audience for that game. And so I talked to somebody, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna play Atelier Ryza or whatever it's called. So I ordered that. We'll see when that comes in, and whenever I actually get around to playing it, because my backlog is so huge with RPGs, it's not even funny. But yeah, I took some interest in that game, and we'll see what happens there. I think I told you I tried to play the Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition the other day, and I guess I was just not in the right mood to play a Tales game, because I started it and I just could not get into it, and so I stopped and I went back to Final Fantasy XII Zodiac Age. So this is Numlock, which looks like he has green skin. I don't know what's going on here. He might be an alien. I'm not. I'm not sure. But and then we have the Gorilla Zoid, which I really do not like this design. The Iron Kong was kind of iconic from the original anime, because of course the Iron Kong was a recreation of a vintage Zoid from the 80s that was very prominent in the UK comics and all that. But so the Iron Kong has always kind of been a mainstay of the franchise. But this guy, I don't know what the heck is up with him. He just looks kind of ugly. These loading screens at least appear to be pretty short. I think it seems like every round one of, or I'm sorry, every chapter one of every person's campaign has them up against the Raptorix, the little small Raptorzoid. I actually did not mean to do that, but we'll take it. You know what? We'll go with our JoJo attack there. Alright, so we'll go ahead and use our Dark Blast and finish this guy off, and then, or we'll just miss with it, that can happen too. And I think that will about do it for this stream. I pretty much played as much as I wanted to. I got quite a few fights in and demonstrated most of the Zoids in the game, I feel like. There's probably a lot more left that I didn't see. The game luckily has an autosave feature, so I'm probably going to call it off right there. Got just over an hour in, did a lot of fights, unlocked a lot of the different Zoids for the free play mode and / multiplayer mode, and got to kind of share my thoughts on it. So overall, what do I think of it? It's okay. It's not bad. It's probably better than a lot of the other older Zoids fighting games that felt really clunky. It's probably better than Zoids Struggle, I'll say that, but it's probably not better than the Infinity series or Zoids Full Metal Crash. It's definitely not better than the Zoids Versus trilogy, because those are definitely kind of on a pedestal as far as the Zoids franchise goes, unfortunately. But it's not bad. I think for $40, it's definitely worth it. I mean, it does feel like a budget game, but if you're a Zoids fan, I think it's definitely worth that $40 for sure. So, Zoids Infinity Blast is the sequel to it, which tells me that they are trying to regain that Infinity name for this sort of sub-series of Zoids games. And that one has the same gameplay as this one. It's the sequel to it, but it features Zoids from Zoids Wild Zero, as well as classic Zoids. So you get like the Blade Liger and the Genobreaker and the Berserk Fury and stuff like that. So that is coming out in Japan very soon. So if I import that, I'll do a stream of it as well, instead of waiting around for the English version to come out. I'm pretty glad that I did not import the Japanese version of this game and that I waited for the English one because it was readily available and I saved a ton of money doing that, that's for sure. And I didn't really miss out on much, if I'm being honest. So, all right. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time, okay?